Hello, everyone. Glad you're here with us tonight. You can speak to everybody.
Hello, I'm Daryl.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Heart to Heart with the Sawyers and our Tuesday life class. Hope everything's been good for you today. But if not, you're still here, and we're glad you're still here and you're still progressing forward. And I'm glad to have you with us tonight.
Okay.
Okay. So here we are. Let's see who's here. And this is my sissy and my brother-in-law. I enjoyed you guys on Sunday. We had a good time talking to you. Always, always. And then there is Linda Langdon, our super fan. Super fan Linda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leslie Lee.
Hey, hey, Dee Dee and George and Vern
George
Vern.
Vern.
Enjoyed our conversation this morning, sweetheart. And there's Leslie. Hey, Leslie. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon to
Afternoon.
you. Or good night. Which one? It's good evening.
Well, if I don't see you no more, good night.
Hello, John Greason. Good to have you in the house.
JG.
JG.
John
That's his
Grayson.
initials, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
L and M. Leslie M.
Let's see what we got cracking, what we got on our plates
I
tonight.
believe my dog is hunting. He got the smell of the rabbit in his nose.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We had some good conversations today.
Yeah,
Didn't
we did. Sure enough.
Mhm.
Sure enough.
One of the conversations we had was about the two. I won't say two paths. There's more than one path, of course. There's the direct path, and then there's the progressive path. I won't say
Mm-hmm.
the progressive path, and then there is the devotional path.
Mm-hmm.
Now there may be other paths, but those are the three I'm familiar with. Uh, Most of us are familiar with the progressive path. That's when we do something for personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about
Mm-hmm.
that earlier today. And so if I said to you guys, and you kind of kick it back at me if you would, um, what is your idea of enlightenment, awakening versus personal growth?
Mm.
What would you say about that? Personal growth, of course, we do know that is uh, the progressive path because you're always progressing toward it. It's full of rituals, practices, those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the direct path is more focused on coming to a place of seeing and self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about that earlier. We'll get into it a little bit more. And I got something I want to put up here that we can maybe jump off of if you
Okay.
don't mind. I brought it. Did this while after we were talking. It kind of stood out to me. We often think about um, in the direct path, which I think most of us who listen in these live streams that we do are more so thinking of the direct path. However, majority of us are still, while trying to free ourselves of the ego, we're still trying to make the ego healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a healthy ego and there's an unhealthy ego. In the progressive path, that personal growth is what people usually get caught in as a distraction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you can do those, you can work on your self concept, you can work on that self that you believe yourself to be, and still miss who you really are, or
Mm-hmm.
miss seeing who you really are.
Most of the time that we spent in going to church on Sunday and Sunday school and Bible study, it was never told or mentioned about ego, ego. And if
Okay.
it was mentioned, it was slightly related to uh, small things. You got an attitude, or you got
Yeah,
a
we thought of it in that
in
sense.
that
Yes.
sense of but
Yes.
when I got into the by the grace of beingness, was directed to see that the ego reaches much deeper and is more sly
Yeah.
or
Yes. Yes.
under or covered up
Yeah.
by much of the thing that we were taught in church and in most the religions. The ego is not discovered and is hides itself in the actual operation and the functions of 24/7 day life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's because it does not want to be exposed. For once it is exposed in relationship to separation, wars, fighting, and divisions, uh, it is weakened. And so what it does, it take on another identity that says, I'm right, I got it. The ego is the one that causes us to have a church next door to a church
Mm-hmm.
and never have
Mm-hmm.
anything to say to each other because they may not ego believe the way our ego read the Bible or our ego say things.
And it's important, and I'd like the what man of the universe. I'm going to take this down for a moment because I want to talk a little bit before I say anything about that. But when we talk about the ego, it really is your own concept of yourself.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's how you see yourself or the image you want to project into the world, out into the world, and it's the and I didn't understand what separation really means until of late. It's separation. Most of us be thinking about separation as God is remote from me and I must connect. And when I've
Mm-hmm.
connected and that union takes place, so that I'm aware of that union, then that is the
Mm-hmm.
end of separation.
Mm-hmm.
But separation goes even deeper than that because it's not the belief in separation that's a problem. It's the belief that there is something other than God in this earth.
Mm-hmm.
And when there's the belief that there is something other than God in this earth, then that is what makes us separate.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
if there's something other than God, it is automatically an opposite.
It's like you being go eat dinner at a restaurant and you smell the aroma of the kitchen cooking
Mm-hmm,
and smells of
mm-hmm,
the food that comes out. Oh man, this smells good. Then we go through the neighborhood and we walk and say somebody cooking something that smells real good.
mm-hmm.
Ego can be a smell of a sweetness, a pleasant
Yeah,
smell,
yeah,
or
yeah,
it can be a
yeah,
rigid, hard to receive smell.
yeah.
It's like somebody put on some, we call that cologne,
Toilet water.
toilet water, and when you smell it, it causes your nose to wrinkle up.
Yeah.
And then there's some people have something that smells so good. Uh, the clue to this is laying, like you say, take your shoes off when you come in the house
Mm-hmm,
and be open and willing to see beyond the five senses
mm-hmm.
exactly where is that smell coming from. You can also get into the understanding of ego through what is good and what is bad. That's what we say.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not a
yeah,
put down,
yeah.
it is a waking up too.
Yeah. Leslie said this personal growth can be painful to stretch out. Enlightening is an eye opening experience. Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Our
That's a good
open
way of saying it.
experience.
Good
Mm-hmm.
way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Man of the universe says this enlightenment is awareness of what we already are. But there is nothing wrong with personal growth. And
No,
that's true.
that's
I
true.
personally think ignoring the need to grow is not the best idea because in most cases the ego is still there.
Yeah.
Yes. And it does not go anywhere. And Linda says, whatever path, I always fall back on love and do what you want. It's really that simple. Yeah, it is. It really is. We came to a conclusion today. We were just sitting here talking, and that because of our age, the age of our bodies, I'll say it like that, we have found that there is more life that we've spent behind us than there is in front of us. So for someone to say to us, what's your 5-year goal? Well, 5 years will be 80. So
Mm-hmm.
our looking forward is more about being ready for exit than it is for building some image.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a whole different ball game. So Manna Universe also says ego as belief in separation isn't healthy service to self. But we can use our differences and gifts to be of service to others. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, we've talked about this today. We hear a lot of people in these circles where you guys ask this question a lot. How do I quiet the mind? And then, do I quiet the mind? And so we kind of looked at that a little bit today. And I gave the analogy of when you go to a restaurant and you're sitting at a table or a booth, you're surrounded by people who are talking loud,
Hmm.
laughing, all of those things. You can hear them, but you also have a wonderful gift, and that is the ability to have focused attention where you can shut them out, still hearing them, but not listening to them. And your attention goes directly to whoever's at your table. That is a gift that
Hmm.
we all share. Focused attention. So it's not so much that you run around in the restaurant and say, "Be quiet, shut up, you're disturbing me."
Hmm.
No, you pull your attention away from them and focus your attention on something that's really important to you. So that is, I hope that answers the question. It's not about going around and shouting and saying, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up."
Hmm.
It's about focusing your attention in another place.
Right. So when we discovered this, um, it began to, well, we did it little pieces, sections at a time, and it took
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
us all the way up to this 50-year mark to
mm-hmm.
understand. And when you get to the place where you think you have it, better watch out. Here it
Yeah,
comes.
yeah,
There it is. When you think that you have arrived,
yeah.
watch out, because it's something got an odor to it there. So I heard some of the sages say, and it is repeated. Um, I know nothing. I don't know anything.
Right.
Uh, it is our experience in talking to a lot of you guys is coming from where we were in denominational church circles, and there are some people in the course, and as well as those who never heard of the course, will not touch this subject because the ego is that part that covers up true relationship in spirit. And when I begin to find out, even after looking through the book, the scriptures here, where it said, love is uh, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, kindness. Even there are a lot of people who are display all of this, but know nothing or understand not anything about who
Mm-hmm.
they really are.
Yeah, yeah.
And we've been taught to grow in these things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told somebody, I said, I stayed in the first grade so long they had to tear the building down and build another to get me to the second grade. So, that's the mind of ego. When I heard somebody say again, so if you take ignorance and throw it as seeds and throw it out in the front yard and lay it there, it'll grow a crop. And what that crop
Mm-hmm.
is, a crop of
Mm-hmm.
ignoring the true identity of yourself. And we always were taught in church that if you worship God, worship Him in spirit. And we were taught that spirit is when the music is high and the shouting is going on and the praise is going up. And then when we get through, or we see somebody get healed, or a miracle, or the Lord speak to somebody, a truth is spoken across the floor by a positionality of the evangelist, prophet, pastor, teacher, that he had the final word, and that final word is God at the point that you don't go anywhere else. And then another thing we saw was you have to wear a certain hat, certain clothes in order to verify what the leader of the group decides that is of God, the way you dress. Of course, I know you don't, I've had in church, I've had ladies that come into church, sit on the end of the row, and they dress be short as a minute, and with that, we had some come in that was dancing, and they showed and did things, and people out in the audience would be whoo, oh, and it's it is a it is a balanced thing for each of us to find out It is very healthy to know these things, but then there is obsession. And we don't want to get into this thing like it is a curse or it is a mark against us. Um, Somebody said ego is like a ghost with a bad toothache.
I think you said that.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I think that was you.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so as we study this, we would go in and out in the church many years, 35 years of it, all along 50 some years of going back and forth in and out of these insights about the ego until we finally
There were
relaxed.
definitely phases.
Yeah, yeah,
for
it was
us.
phases
Yes.
that we went through.
Yes. Yes.
And Jesus is one thing to one person, and he's another thing to another. And we begin to find out, like Miss Linda said, love. But even that love that we call love, we think it's always giving a gift or giving
Or
somebody
being kind, being
being kind.
nice.
It is
Mhm.
really a in-depth, cool, soothing moment to find out that you have always been, before church anything, you have always been the love of God.
And that's true. And I've said this, maybe last year, I think I came into a deeper understanding of what that we did not really know what love is.
Mm-hmm.
We say that, and we believe it, we embrace it, we know it's true. However, I personally didn't have a full understanding of what love is. My misconception was that I had to be kind, I had to be nice, I had to always be the one who was unselfish. I had to always be the one to do what made the other person feel good. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was a misconception
Mm-hmm.
altogether. And I'll use my dog as an example.
Mm-hmm.
We often use her as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And baby girl's down here now waiting on a piece of chicken. But with her condition that she has in her body at her 11-year-old age, her stomach has become very sensitive. Her bowels are sensitive. Any little bit of different food triggers diarrhea
Mm-hmm.
or stomach upset.
Mm-hmm.
So we love her,
Mm-hmm.
but this urge that I have to give her something because it makes her feel, because she enjoys
She's a
it,
dog, yeah.
and I want her to
Be
have
able,
the pleasure of eating it.
because we know other people got dogs, they eat everything,
Yeah,
anything.
but that urge to give that to her is not love.
Right.
Because if I give it to her, it's going to hurt her.
Yeah. But she can't see that.
She doesn't know that, but I know that. So
Mhm.
my urge to give her something is not love.
Yeah.
But see,
true.
that's how we misconceive what love truly is.
Mhm.
It isn't always giving that person what they want.
Mhm.
It isn't always doing what that person would like for you to do.
Mhm.
It isn't always being kind. It isn't always being nice. It's sometimes saying no.
Mhm.
It's sometimes not allowing that person to have the pleasure of that.
Mhm.
It's sometimes it's pulling back.
Yeah.
It's not always embracing for a hug. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's pulling back.
Yeah.
So our misconception or our not understanding what love truly is requires that we walk by the grace
Mhm.
that we have been given, rather than the effort that we think in our minds of trying to walk that love out. Because, well, anyway, I think I've said enough about
Yeah.
that. But I wanted to read something, if it's okay
Yeah.
with you.
Mhm.
And again, this is out of the book that I mentioned on Sunday. It's Adia Shante, The End of Your World. And it's a chapter called Effort or Grace. I'll see where I want to start here, because I don't want to read a whole lot and take up your time. Okay, it says, when people ask me whether they need to make effort or not, whether it's all grace or whether it requires any of their attention, the most useful pointer I can offer is to look within for the answer. If you are really truthful with yourself, you will know from the inside whether it is necessary to investigate a fixation in the mind or in the body or in the gut. You will know when you are called to discipline yourself and look closely at something. And if you need to make effort to look at it, then so be it. Make the effort to look at it, question it, and uncover it. Again, all of our fixations originate on the level of ideas. One of the entry points is to look at what you believe, what specific thought is causing you to perceive separateness or to go into emotional division. This is the discipline, the effort of the process of awakening, the willingness and the courage to answer to question. Sometimes it's necessary to move beyond a sort of inner slothfulness or laziness and challenge ourselves to look at something with clarity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this goes back to what we were talking about with personal growth. Personal growth is still the development of a healthy ego.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. This I found this today. I was looking it up, doing a little research. It says a healthy ego gives us the needed ego strength, and I'll just take the ego out of that. It gives us the needed strength to navigate challenging moments and emotions of vulnerability rooted in fear and anxiety with ease and resilience. It is an essential skill in the formation of healthy emotional intimacy in couple relationships. And these are the things that they said one does for personal growth. They never compare themselves to anyone. They maintain a positive motivation, surround themselves with positive people that if you can, you can't always. They overcome bad habits. They build a self-image that they're pleased with.
Mm-hmm.
One is about doing those things where when you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel good about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This is all healthy ego stuff. It's setting goals and achieving them, and it's eliminating negative thoughts. And it's a whole lot more, but this is what you call personal growth, where you do the inner work to bring what I call the egotistical mind, that egotistical self, into alignment with that you are as the love nature.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
some major in this and don't ever really discover who they truly are.
Yeah.
And that was what we were discussing earlier today.
I have something here where it said in the book, because I use this for John 4:20 and 23, all down in there. Our Father worship in the mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship.
Mm-hmm.
And this is even in the book. This Jesus is explaining the ego. The book is explaining what ego is.
Sure.
We said if you're gonna worship God, you need to go to a place, a certain location,
Mm-hmm.
and he comes back and said to the woman at the well, believe me, that the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet in at Jerusalem worship the Father.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he's breaking the ego down,
Mm-hmm.
and getting those pieces lined up for the puzzle to fit. Now, ye worship ye know not what we know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. That's what we say. That's what they said. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him.
So it has nothing to do with the practices and the rituals.
Right. Now, I read this out here as a way to say to you, I found out what it means to worship spirit in the esoteric, in a deeper, much more finite, easy way.
And worshiping spirit is worshiping ourselves, isn't it? In the sense, not itself.
Here's what he's saying. Yeah. When I looked at this today, just glanced at it, it's saying, now I understand who I am as a spirit, an eternal essence of
eternal
God.
being, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I found out that everybody in the universe, everybody is an eternal being an eternal essence without doing anything, going to a church, reading a book, but by discovering, even if they don't discover it, we are all eternal beings, essence. And eternal beings cannot and will not uh, come to an end. It never finishes. It doesn't have a beginning. It doesn't have a weight. It doesn't really have an opinion about anybody that it is around or working with. It just is. It is what? And we stop. We are what? We are who? It doesn't even ask the question, are you, or what church you go to, or are you a Methodist? Or we have thousands of members in our church. It does not mean you stay away from them, but it does mean that you know how to center yourself in the love that does not waver because somebody is black or white, old or young. It does not have a discretion in it of I know the Bible and you need to go back and study it, or if you don't, even the course tells you to look at it and lay it down.
Yeah.
And some people, I've been to restaurants and I've sat there and watched people come in with a family Bible and put it on the table, and the waitress can't find anywhere to put the food on the table because their book is spread all over the table. That is part of the ego. Now, this is a very sensitive subject we're saying here, and we're not going to get into the area of this is right and this is wrong. But what this needs to be seen, it should be seen in a way of softness, gentleness, kindness, love, submissiveness. I saw so many things this week on YouTube about the funniest things that could happen to anybody in church, and it is so many things in there that would make you right now not go to this church, not have anything to do with it. You are open to go or not go. Since we shut down the brick and mortar, the building is no longer existing for us. We don't have a problem going to church, but we just don't go now. Not because it is right or wrong. It is what God said and not say. It is just a relaxed place. If you want to go, it's like sitting watching your television. Some people say, I don't want that dirty, nasty box in my house. Throw them out. So I'll get rid of all of them. That's your discretion. But love is what I saw love as is me and her together for 54 years. We've been together. And some people actually say, how in the world do you stay with somebody that long? That's just no problem.
We don't have nowhere else to go.
I mean, really. I mean, we free, but we just don't. And I'm gonna tell you something else.
I know.
We don't stop drinking wine, beer, dipping and chewing because it's not of God. It is a place it's like I don't have no desire for it. And even if the desire do come, I just don't do it. I can. And
you're not under any laws.
I'm not under any law to say that if I get with you, I'm going, and then you drink, I'm going to have to drink with you in order to stay along and get along with you. I have people come to our house. You ask me about certain drinks at the ABC store. And I don't have any problem telling them, yeah, I like the pretty bottles in the store. I go in there. I've been in there. And people say, Reverend, what you doing in here? I said, well, we're getting ready to make a cake or we're getting ready to bake something. And we don't want to go to the moonshine house to get it. So we go to the ABC store. And hey, I just can't see the law that says I stay away from something because it may contaminate me. You should know.
But all of that's the Christian mind mentality.
The Christian mind, yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
no, I don't want to go to a whorehouse and lay up in there with everybody else and do what they're doing. But at the same time, if somebody want to do it, they can do it. They'll have to see eventually what is and what is not presentable to their character. So anyway, we found out that
you
these
said a
things,
whole lot there. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm not sure where you're going. Down that rabbit hole now.
Yeah, but Jesus was telling that spirit. When it said spirit, that means this. This is what I saw. This is what I looked at. They that worship God must begin to understand the spirit part of them is the real self. It is that part of you that can never be shot,
Mhm.
can never be hung,
Yeah.
can never go to jail, can never get in and out with get free go card.
Mhm.
Um, it is such a wonderful thing to know that when these bad thoughts go through the head or the feelings from the past, the eternal self, the spirit you, does not go back to the past and look at it as though it is still locked into that place. It is not trapped in the history of your family, and it's not trapped in the generational curses that some say that's in your family. When you find out what we're talking about, you're going to see. I can tell you ABCs all the way down the line, but this is something you'll have to see on your personal reconnaissance. That what we're teaching and talking about tonight.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
got a couple of comments
yeah, go
if
ahead.
you
Go
don't
ahead.
mind. Man of the Universe, he says, I don't know much, but I know what I truly think I
Yeah,
need to know,
yeah.
which is love is
Love
the
is
only thing that has any meaning and is the meaning of everything. Absolutely, absolutely.
right.
And then Linda says, as humans, I'm not sure we can know the depth of love, but close to it is the recognition of the oneness of all of us. To love is to see the Christ in others. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I've even studied where people had near death experiences, go on the other side, and to be gone certain times, certain the mind be in a coma, and they go over there and they don't expect the persons when they come back to be able to function.
Right.
They go over there, and some of them knew nothing about Jesus, knew nothing about religion, did not know anything about spirit, whether spirit was true or false, did not know any of the things that we could mention and have mentioned over the time that we've been talking to you guys. They go and they come back and they find Jesus. And if they go around and tell people what they have found out about him on the other side, they'll say, here's the statement. What did the book say?
Well, I mean, but
I'm
even
saying this because I want you guys to understand that there is, if you put a fence around God, he'll jump it every time.
yeah, yeah. But one of
Mhm.
the things we talked about earlier today, and this is kind of a subject that we often talk about because coming from the positions of being former pastors,
Yeah.
having lived that
Hmm.
lifestyle
Oh, yeah.
and walked in the deep judgmentalism, legalism, uh, and having to walk out of that.
Yeah.
Our language
It's,
still refers
it
back to
refers back.
that.
It's
So
drastic,
I know
really.
some of you may be thinking, I don't talk like that, I don't think like that. But for those who have walked the path that we walked,
Hmm.
that is something that the mind still talks about.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the two of us, we discuss a lot is how we have come to this knowing, and yet we see people, uh, other people that we've known, moving so much in the area of personal growth,
Hmm.
of trying to develop a healthy ego.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with it, as we've said, but they don't still see who they are in essence, in the core. But now they've read the books,
Hmm.
they've heard the teachers, and they talk the language, but their mannerisms, behavior, attitude, uh, doesn't ring true to that. So what we're, and I know in the West, and we this is something that we've been plagued with in this country in the West, is we're all moving in that body mind
Hmm.
consciousness. We're all trying
Hmm.
to move towards success and happiness, and in so doing, uh, that can be a distraction
Hmm.
for someone who really needs to look more deeply within. And I heard another spiritual teacher say this, and I don't remember who it
Yeah.
was, but they said if a person is too happy, they won't look within.
Okay.
They won't look within because
Hmm.
there's no reason to.
Right. Right.
And so this is something that concerns us. We have people that we're we love very dearly, close to, that have They have businesses. They have progressed in the area of success. They know the spiritual language, but they're just as asleep as they want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
And you can see it and
this
feel
kind
it.
of, and we don't necessarily have the wording of what we're trying to say, or what the answer should be, but we do know there is still a need when people are doing the practices, people are making forth the effort to be a better person and to
Mm-hmm.
get ahead and all of those things, and to even be kind, even to walk the love walk. Some of them still are so asleep. I To the point that I called it a partitioned spirituality. It's like there's portions of our lives where we're absolutely awake, portions where we're absolutely asleep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
or it may be just the opposite. It may be that I'm either awake or asleep at certain points, at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the one concern, because in the path that we're on is more a direct. We're very direct, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that turns people off.
It does. It does.
And we don't always say it right. We don't always say it the way it should be said. What we're trying to convey, we're trying to convey and not convince.
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult to describe what you see and what you have seen. I want to read just another little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see if I can find what I was looking for. It says here, the deeper we move into the direct experience of being, of the unborn, the undying, the uncreated that we are, the more we start to move into a true sense of non duality. By non duality, I mean living beyond the relative and absolute. In a certain sense, our experience opens up beyond the perception of unity. Now, this is beyond the perception of unity, even beyond the experience of oneness.
Yeah.
We
Oh, yeah.
realize that the core of ourselves, the essence of ourselves, to be something much more akin to pure potential. We realize ourselves to be pure potential before it has become anything, before it has become the one, before it has become the many, before it has become this or that. The maturing of awakening is this profound return to our essence, to the simplicity of what we are, which is before and beyond being and non-being.
Okay.
It is before and beyond existing and not existing. It is where there is a disappearance, as it were, where our minds are no longer fixating on any level of experience. Our minds are not fixating on any particular expression. The tendency to fixate has been liberated. This state is not a mystical state.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a state of specialness. It is a state of naturalness and ease. On the human level, it is experienced as deep ease and deep naturalness and deep simplicity. Now, I think that sums up for me where we are, because you say this often, that you feel like we've gone all the way back full circle
Yeah.
to where we absolutely knew nothing. And it's like everything we experienced from that time of the conversion experience that we had initially has now, we've gone full circle all the way back to being just that being. Then we're just here. There's no mystery to it.
That's right. I remember when we in our early 20s, we became foster parents, and they would have children that needed to be placed temporarily in a good home, or those that they have that have qualified for being foster parents. Some weekends they bring children to us, and we had to keep them and let them go. And some of them were some of the nicest, sweetest babies. But we had one that came to us from the time that child entered the door. it cried on that Friday,
It had never been away from its
never been
mama,
away from its mom.
and it had a heart murmur.
Yes. And we stayed up with that child, doing everything possible to comfort that baby. And it cried for
Nothing helped.
3 days nonstop.
Nothing helped.
And we had to call them to get them to come and get the child on that Monday,
So that the child could get to his
could
mama.
get to his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've had those that come to us whose mother had done certain things to siblings to
Neglected them, abuse,
them
yes.
and
Mm-hmm.
abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept 2 of them, and they became our children, adopted.
We adopted one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my point is that the conditioned world that we come into is by divine transfer from the spirit world, the God identity world. I knew she was coming.
Mm-hmm.
By condition, we have to learn and understand in a certain part of us what caused that baby to be like it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was conditioned that it had never left its mother.
Mm-hmm.
And we come into this world, we have many lifetimes left from our recent spirit identity to come to each dimension to carry out certain things, to learn and to be in a class. So this is our classroom. The earth is our classroom.
The earth is our classroom and not our courtroom.
That's right. That's right.
It's not the place where we're judged. It's not the place where God judges us, but it is our classroom.
I remember we had one little girl that come to be with us. Her name was Shantana.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she was the sweetest thing. And she's
about what, 3?
Yeah.
2, 3?
And we wanted to keep her, but we couldn't. But that on the weekend, that little baby had a bowel problem, and it was very miserable. And we didn't know what to do. We did everything we could to try to comfort the baby, comfort the child. And I was in the back bedroom, the wife and I had her in my arms. She was the first baby that I ever put a manual diaper on.
The manual, because it wasn't one you buy at the store.
No, it wasn't a Pampers.
It was a cloth diaper.
It was a cloth diaper.
Yeah.
And I learned how to put a diaper on a baby.
You did.
And not stick it with the pen. And
they were a little loose.
But I put that diaper, and I said, Lord, help us with this child. Show us. And I put the baby in my arm, and all of a sudden, I just laid back on the bed, and instantly that switch inside of me went off, and I saw the hand of God, the fragrance of God, give that baby some Holy Spirit of God oil in her digestive system, and that child broke free from that condition. Just that immediately,
suddenly.
Oh, what a miracle. And we didn't expect it. So the change that takes place with spirit, when Jesus said, they that worship the Father must worship him in the spirit. The spirit is not so much a ritual or religion. It is us. They that really...
It's not really an experience.
No, it's not. It's the finding out through insight, revelation, whatever you want to call it. But somehow or another, you find out that the true worship is identity with spirit. So we talking to you online. We are worshiping God, just talking to each other and finding out spirit. Spirit is the key, not a crazy thing, but it's love,
finding ourselves,
finding our true self.
Spirit.
So that baby had to leave us. We had to give her up, and we had 2 more to come. We've had our adventure with seeing God in children, not understanding till now what spirit really was and what spirit really is. It is awesome. It's beyond word to describe something that's indescribably delicious.
Listen, Man of the Universe says, people laugh at me because they don't understand what I'm trying to say. Truth is difficult to express with words. Yes, it is, very. And it's hard to, sometimes it's even more difficult. We have these great conversations. And when we get online, we can't say it the way we've said it when we were having a private conversation. And that's kind of discouraging sometimes to us.
I was in the UPS store.
Before you say that, Linda said she saw baby girl's lips. She saw baby
When?
baby girl's dog lips just now.
Okay. Yeah, I had a chin.
She
She comes over here and she let me scratch her
she
chin.
finished her treat, her
Yeah.
chicken, so
And
she
her last
went over
stop when she
there.
finished her treat is to come over here and put her head in my
Mhm.
lap and throw her head back and let me scratch her chin.
She messes with him because she know I won't pet her.
No, she don't do it like that. But
But go ahead. You were gonna share you something.
and when I was there at the UPS store, uh, the person that was waiting on me, uh, I don't I don't approach people with things of spirit like I used to. I guess you might say I found a little wisdom insight. Uh, I told a lady, I said, you know what? I had a near death like experience, and I saw Jesus' face and his eyes looked just like yours.
Mm-hmm.
I told a man, I said, sir, I said, can I say something to you in the restaurant? And he said, depending on what it is. I said, I had this experience of seeing Jesus in person, and he looked just like you.
Mm-hmm.
He said, oh, I thought you were going to tell me something bad. He said, thank you. Now,
You come to visit
there she
me.
come.
Mm.
I have found the Lord, the Spirit has revealed how to talk to people and see Christ in them, regardless of any prior information about their walk with Him. I I had a man to come by here to wash out and clean our cars up, and I met him in the auto store, and it was because of this Christ unreligious side. I don't know what it is, the grace of God. I had a chance to meet somebody. I I never meet people without meeting God.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this. I like what he said to me, what he showed me, how to see God in everything and everybody. It don't mean you walk around with your head up in
No,
the
no,
sky
because
acting fluky.
no, what it actually means is going beyond when you come when the sense of separation collapses. Is
Mm-hmm.
for me. This is, and I've said it. Let's see if I
Mm-hmm.
can say it again.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
Separation is the belief that there is something else other than God.
Mm-hmm.
Once it's settled that there is nothing else but God, then everything you look at is God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything that you look at is God
That's right.
because there is nothing else.
Yeah. But you can, and we're not talking about walking around here with your so high up in the sky
Right.
and so God minded that you know earthly good.
No, Lord, we don't want that.
We don't want to get into that.
Mm-mm,
But I
mm-mm.
saw Jesus in people who you would not believe he was in. And this is based on this. All of us, and you've heard me say it many times, are the eternal essence, whether in the street, in the car, riding the bus, believing in Christ, believing in Mohammed, or any religious sect of people. The eternal essence is that part of you that when the body is finished being used up, you will leave it behind.
Mm-hmm.
You will walk away from it. Who is this that's walking away from the body? Who is this that lives after the body is shut down?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, inquisitioning is what we did yesterday about this thing about the ego and recognizing it. Ask these loaded questions. If your question and inquisition is not loaded enough, you won't get a response from spirit to the point where it'll override your ego. It has to be something that is so grabbing and reaching that part of you that is love that it automatically reveals to you this is what God really is like.
Yeah, yeah.
And God does not like being in some people and not being in others. like being you and not being me. I wish I could tell you the full revelatory insight of the allness of God, indescribably being able to say things about Him, about yourself. When you meet your true self, you will meet God.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna read this, and I think we about ready to wrap it up in just a minute. But it says here, on another level, it is the undeniable sense that whatever the journey has been, there is a certain sense of finality.
Mm.
As one old Zen master said, it's like a job well done. At the end of the day, you just go home.
Oh,
At a certain point in one's spiritual life, it's as if everything is spontaneously put down. Spirituality itself is put down. This is hard to understand until it actually starts to happen to you. Freedom is put down. It's necessary for us to be free of our need for freedom, to be enlightened from our need for enlightenment. And at a certain point, this starts to happen naturally and spontaneously. We even lose what I call the spiritual world, because the whole idea of spirituality is itself a fabrication.
yeah.
It's perhaps a necessary fabrication at a certain point in time, but it's a fabrication nonetheless. At a certain point, all fabrications dissolve and disappear. That doesn't mean they don't have any usefulness. It simply means we see that everything is transparent, everything is fleeting, everything is of the nature of a dream. We come to realize that even our greatest realizations, our greatest moments of aha, are actually dreams within the infinity of the unborn. It is almost like we realize that even one's own great awakening was just another dream that never happened. And even so, there's a sense of shining reality. There is a shining presence through it all. Now, this state of simplicity and naturalness is difficult to describe.
That's right. You are what? You are what God is. Man of the universe, I found out that the essence of God that all of us are is faith. The essence of God that we are all is belief. The love of God is the true love of all of
It's our
us.
nature. It's our
It
nature.
is who we are and have always been.
Mhm.
The contrariness or the altered state of being angry one minute and love the next, that is all a part of this school and learning how to get into the unchanging, unwavering love identity. It
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
absolutely amazing
Mhm.
that we are already the faith of God, the belief of God.
Mhm. Mhm.
Seeing is one of the most seeing, SEEING, is one of the most powerful functions of the eternal self.
Yeah, and I wanted to say this as well. A lot of, I'll say, in the earlier days of awakening for me, it was all about having the experience of being aware, all about having the experience of seeing Christ in other people. They're all about having the experience of feeling loving, feeling love, feeling peace. And now I've come to the finality, not so much that I've arrived, but the finality for me is I'm no longer looking for any experience. And it's okay if I
It's
don't have it.
okay.
It's okay if I don't have that.
Miss Pearl, give me a call when you get a chance. I hadn't heard from any some of the others at Cornerstone in a while. I'd like to talk to you. Give
Yeah.
us a call.
Yeah.
But I want you guys to realize that uh, the eternal essence of what has been found out about us brings us to have not anything else to talk about but that.
There is nothing else to talk about.
There is the unwavering factuality that if I could zip you open
Mhm.
and look at your true self,
Mhm.
I would see only the love of God.
Yeah. Now I wanted to just say, read what Pearl said, her
Mm-hmm.
comment. Anything outside of me is living from the concept and consciousness of the atom state of being separated. But living in the I am oneness, as Jesus stated, I and the Father are one, the eternal self.
Gosh.
Yeah.
They that worship God must go to the eternal spirit identity.
Mhm.
That is the only truth that you can
So,
be.
so it sounds to me like this journey that we all are on,
Mm-hmm.
no matter which stage or phase we may find ourselves, what beliefs we may have, it's all coming to the final point of absolutely letting go and
Yeah,
just being.
that's right.
Absolutely
And
letting
we
go and
and we're
just
coming
being.
from the I guess you might say from the fragrance or the odor of churchology, in the sense that that is what took us into finding Jesus or finding Christ or finding God,
Well,
whatever you
no,
want to call him.
Jesus introduced himself to us,
Yeah,
and that we went to church thinking
yeah, yeah,
that's where he was.
yeah. He introduced himself to us first, and
Yeah,
you know he introduced himself to us without having
yeah,
any prior contact with anything that
yeah,
introduced
yeah.
itself.
We went to church thinking that's where he was.
Yeah, we thought he was there. Now we know. Hey, look,
He's everywhere.
we know what street he live on. We know what kind of house he live in, and he knows what we know what kind of car he drive. We knows what he wear. We know what size shoe he wear. We
And
know.
we're not talking about a human being, Jesus.
No. But we are,
But
in
we
a
are
way,
talking about a human
saying
being,
something
Jesus.
about
Yes.
him. Look, if I could talk to you forever, it would be it wouldn't be any different than now. The forever conversation that, you know, if it's some way that I could get with you, I'd jump up and down, and sit in your lap, and just enjoy the presence of knowing that you and I have never been separated from each other.
No, we cannot be. There is nothing
Mm.
else.
Well, we got to take off again, and we didn't get a
We
chance
hope
to
you got
say
something
all
out
of
of
it.
our conversation tonight. But if not, you come back and give us some good comments, and maybe you guys will open up
Yeah, we'll be
somebody's
here
eyes as
Thursday.
well. Yeah.
Thursday at 12:30
Yep.
this
12:30
week.
for impromptu. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be back.
And if you can tune into us, if you're not tied up or working, if you can, come
Yeah.
on, be with us, and we'll talk some more of this mystery talk.
Linda
Okay.
says, I am another version of you having an individual experience of perception. That's good, isn't
Okay.
it?
We have to unplug our phone in order to do this, because people be calling us during the time of the classes sometime, and we did that to remove all disturbances.
But we left it beeping.
Yeah, it's beeping. Yeah,
It's been beeping the
yeah.
entire time.
But thank you again. We reach out to you for the support again of the finances to keep us going, and we thank you for what you have done and what the Lord has blessed you to bless us with. Thank you so much.
Hit the like button, you guys. Hit the like button if you would. And we thank you for tuning in. We'll be back again on Thursday at 12:30, like he said, unless something happens that we cannot. We plan to be back with you guys then. I know some of you guys aren't available during that time, but if you can tune in to us, it would be great. Pastor Norman went to a leadership conference last time, and we just took a break. But he should be back. He is back. He should be available
We'll be here
for
this
us
Thursday.
Thursday. So we'll have another good conversation.
So we'll say it like this: hold it in the middle of the road, tie it down on the right side and the left side, and hold it in the middle and keep on working it.
And go on and put your PJs on and get your favorite drink and sit down and relax. Okay. We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye.